Phil and Will are back, and last night's episode of Survivor was absolutely incredible, especially for a second boot, for a second episode of a season. I don't think we've seen one quite like that in a while. We were really excited to talk about it last night. We had some technical things. We're going to try to do these on Wednesdays from now on, but, well, we waited one more day. I watched it again. I think Will watched it again, too, but...
Yeah, what happened was I'm on the West Coast, so when I try to watch on Phil's time, he's on the East Coast, so it's 5 o'clock my time, which I'm totally cool with. But the only way to get it is through one of these like live streaming websites, and they always aren't the most reliable. So it kind of went in and out. I missed a couple things, and then we were trying to start the podcast and just had some. I mean, the internet just wasn't being our friend. But we're here now, and yeah, this episode was great. I don't think we've had this good of a second episode in a long, long time. I mean, it was right up until Tribal. I really didn't know who was going to go.
No, and I mean, they even edited it well beforehand where you didn't know who was really going to go to Tribal because they had I kind of thought White Collar was safe, but even Blue Collar, the way they edited them, there was a lot of feuding going on there. And then with the No Collar stuff, it was kind of like, well, are they just showing this because like the Nina thing's going to blow up later on? That was really, really well done, and that challenge was awesome. So, I mean, I think we should take it from the top, but there's a lot to talk about here. I was pretty pumped watching the whole thing. I was, like, surprised a lot.
Right. I was surprised throughout, and I was thinking Blue Collar was going to go to Tribal, just because, and I thought it was going to be between Mike and Dan. That was kind of where the episode was going. We opened with the Blue Collar tribe, with Dan losing his underwear, his manties, I guess. Like, I don't know, how does your underwear get all the way down your leg? Like, I can see it ripping, like a wave pulling it off to, like, maybe your knees. I mean, something must have really happened to him.
I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he lost him on purpose, because, like, who was it? Lindsay was saying, like, he's, like, trying, because he's no longer, like, got that novelty of being the annoying fat guy and all that stuff, and people are actually starting to get annoyed with him. So maybe he did something like a little on purpose, just try to be like the funny guy. I mean, it's really just ridiculous. I mean, he had those in the first place. He's also a goof, so I wouldn't be surprised if he just lost them because he's Dan and he's, kind of out there and just,
I don't know.
Whatever.
It
was weird.
Like, you can be the funny fat guy and, play that up, and that can be your character, and that can be your kind of strategy. To lose your underwear on purpose when you're on an island with nothing. I mean, I doubt anyone would do that, even someone like Dan who might be going for that attention. I highly doubt that.
You know what it is?
I think he lost them on accident, and then people are accusing him, just like the Idol thing. Like, Dan can't do anything without being accused.
Yeah, I'm starting to pick up on that. I feel like Dan can't catch a break here, and I don't know why he can't catch a break, but it just feels like every time he does something, it's being nitpicked so much harder than everyone else. Granted, do we need to see Dan in his underwear anymore? Probably not. Is it a good thing that he probably lost those? I think I'm a little relieved. But, I don't know. Now, I think that they do find him more amusing than we're being led to believe. Because I think Sierra likes him, and I think Kelly likes him. I think it's really Lindsay who has the problem with him. But she's the one who's getting the screen time, so it's making it look like Dan can't catch a break at all.
Well, the thing with Dan is that his tide really turned this episode. It started with Dan. Kind of the whole opening sequence was just Dan is annoying, goofy, loses his underwear. People don't like him. We saw it was set up in the premiere that he's on everybody's nerves. And then every kind of blue collar time we got with their tribe this episode led to Dan becoming just better and better and better. He had a great episode. I mean, you could say he was the MVP. And when they were playing basketball and having fun, Mike was all about work, 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 and Mike says, Dan, come do this with me, and Dan's like, let me take this shot first, let me play basketball first, and they included that. He was being a part of the tribe. So I think, and he kicked ass in the challenge too. He had a great, I'm going to kick ass, he said that before, I'm going to surprise you. He got the lead for the blue collar tribe. They end up getting first place. No, they get second place, but they win the challenge
got second place
anyway. Right. So, I mean, Dan, I think, is now in a better position than Mike. He seems to just be pissing everyone off.
Did you see that we do have one comment, and the comment was, my biggest question of the episode, did Dan actually lose his manties, or did production demand Dan lose his manties in the ocean? Like, like it's like, did they really want Dan run? I guess that's kind of asking, did they really want Dan running around in his banana hammock, as they were calling it? Did we really need to see that anymore? Or were they like, here, just put this shirt on, at least cover something up?
I feel like if it was a production thing, they would have. I mean, I they choose the clothes for these guys. I think they even have say in the underwear. I really do. They heavily pick colors, what you're looking at. So if maybe it was a mistake and they said we can't have this guy be naked on TV anymore, but if you do that, you got to give him something to replace it with. That's not fair to say this is
Yeah.
what you're wearing and then oh wait you're too ugly. Let me just take it away. Like you got to give him a replacement. It was weird we didn't get a confessional of Dan like talking
That was
about
weird.
like what exactly happened. That's
Because
why I
we did get we did get to hear him talk about it, but like not just to the camera. It was like him explaining to everybody else. I kind of would have liked to have heard the real deal.
but this is why I think it was an honest accident because if it was some manipulation, some on purpose thing to get more tension or be funny or whatever, we would have seen that in the confessional. They would have showed that to us. You don't hide that. But if he has a confessional saying exactly what he just told everybody, we don't need to see that. I think that's what happened. I don't think we need to see him say it once to the camera, once to his tribe, when it's the exact same story. So that's why I'm really thinking it was just kind of a wave knocked him over and took his underwear.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what they're setting up right now is for Dan to be like you said, they're trying to show that he is starting to fit in better. And I think that what they're setting up is Dan was the outcast at first, and now he's kind of like learning how to adapt. And that's the storyline he's going to have, that he can learn to adapt. I think that what's going to happen is when Blue Collar finally goes, I think Mike might actually be more in trouble than Dan now, just because of this episode.
Oh, totally. Mike's way
Yeah.
lower now. Dan is at least getting along with people. I mean, we're talking all blue collar tribe right now, which I'm okay with. But it was so funny. They were playing basketball, and then they go to the challenge, and it comes down to like
Yeah.
shooting basketball, and it was Sierra who was the one they showed like shooting and missing. And I think maybe when they ended that little sequence of them just continuing to shoot while Mike gets wood, that whole sequence, I think Sierra ended it with making it, and then that's
Yeah.
perfect foreshadowing in the challenge. Sierra's the one, making it rain buckets in the immunity challenge to get them the win.
Yeah, and that it's like Mike doesn't understand. Mike's trying too hard right now, and I don't really know where Kelly stands, and we don't really get much of Sierra. But Lindsay and Rodney are clearly on one side, and Mike is on the other, and Mike needs to find a way to stop that because he doesn't understand right now that like you're out there for 24 hours a day. You have to do fun stuff too. Like I'm sure that they're working at other times. It just seems like Mike always like they got up and Mike was like, "Hey, we need to go get water like now," and it's like, well, let them relax for a second. Like let them have their couple seconds to just relax and get up. Like don't be
Right.
bossy. You don't need that.
Yeah, for how entertaining this cast is, and supposedly we have, a bunch of savvy players, there have been a lot of just bad decisions, bad moves by players. And I'm not saying game moves. I'm saying you're living with someone, you can't be bossy. You can't tell people what to do. They're adults. Like
Yeah.
we saw it with Dan, Dan in the premiere. He toned that down, but now Mike is being the bossy one. We'll get into Nina's absurd strategy, if I don't know if you want to call it strategy. I mean, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But let's head over to the white collar tribe, and this was hilarious.
I was laughing, dude. Tyler's killing me. Tyler's
That was it.
hysterical, man.
The Tyler Shireen thing was just gold. Like it went on for so long. Shireen, she's not even topless. Like she just has her bottoms off. I don't know who even really does that. Like see girls take their
Normally,
top
wouldn't you
off.
be topless and keep the bottoms on? Like, wouldn't it be the opposite? I feel like most of the time.
Totally, it totally usually is. It's like if anything's like discomforting, I think it's more of like the top is like more uncomfortable than like the bottom. But I mean, I'm not really sure. But you rarely see someone just go bottomless. I think like in a Harold and Kumar movie, they made a joke like it's not a topless party, it was a
Yeah.
bottomless party, and they were joking like because that usually doesn't happen. So I don't really know what Shireen was thinking. I think she really likes Max. Shireen loves
Yeah.
Max.
Her and Max. Max is like Tyler called Max out on it, but Max is so smart, and I think he's almost trying to play off that he's too dumb. He's just like silly. He's a jokester. Like he's just out there to have a good time. And oh, Max is naked again. That's so funny. Or oh, Max is making a smart ass comment again. That's so funny. I think he's trying to not let people think he's that smart, but I think they're all seeing through it. But I think him and Shireen, if they can get Tyler in with them or keep Carolyn with them, that threesome's going to be hard to break up because they do know, like they seem like a really savvy duo right there.
Yeah. So yeah, Sheree knows Max is like some brilliant, huge fan of the game, but that's what she loves about him, and that's why she wants to work with him. Tyler, on the other hand, is like wary of him. Like I'm concerned with how well he knows the game. And then Max was saying, I got naked just so I could be alone. People aren't going to swim with me.
Yeah.
Because I'm alone. Like that was kind of interesting, but it's not like this crazy strategy that he was kind of saying in the confessional. But then he was also saying he's like honoring the greats, like he's honoring Richard Hatch. So I think he's just doing it for the screen time to be goofy. I don't think there's much. I mean, you can go swimming alone without getting naked.
Here's my thing though. A lot of times people will try to get alone time, and they'll go off into the woods or they'll do something and they disappear and people are like, oh, are they looking for the idol? Oh, they might be looking for an idol, something like that. And it gets kind of sketchy. The way Max is doing this right now, and I don't know if he's looking this far into it, but I think it's kind of a good idea because he's letting them know where he is, but he's still getting his alone time. Because everybody still needs the alone time, but most of the time the rest of the tribe is like, oh, he's off there in the woods again. He's scrambling around again. Max is just sitting in the water naked.
Right. But I guess what I'm saying is you can ask for alone time and go to the water without getting naked. Like, you don't need to be naked to get this, like, alone time. You can say, look, guys, I'm going to go take a swim. I'm clearly not looking for the idol unless, some clue said it was in the water. But, I mean, if you just go out and you're bobbing your head in the ocean where you're in plain sight to everybody, I don't think you need to be naked to necessarily sell that. But that when Tyler was like standing with Joaquin and Shireen comes up, or Shireen, with these pots, and he's just like asking these questions like, which one should we clean? Like such nonsense. Like who cares? Like Max has a pot supposedly. There are cups involved, and Tyler is literally standing there like, just go away, just get out of here. And she just keeps standing there, and then she trips and falls like on the rocks. Like that was just gold. That scene was probably my favorite. I was cracking up. Like just Tyler.
I was
like trying to look away, and Joaquin just kind of cheesing it the whole time, biting his lip. It was perfect.
I was laughing so hard because Tyler couldn't even make a sentence. He was sitting there. He's like, "Why don't we get the And you could tell like you could tell that guy had like cotton mouth like crazy, and he could not stand there anymore. He was so nervous. It was almost like cute in a weird way because it was like this guy can't even look at her right now. Like he can't even form a sentence. It was like watching two like 10-year-olds, a guy and a girl, try to talk to each other for the first time. Like that's what it looked like. He could not make a sentence. And then Joaquin's just standing there like staring like, yeah, this guy can't even look, and it's like, well, what are we gonna do? Like, yeah, clean that pot. Like Joaquin is a lot funnier than I thought he was gonna be. I actually kind of like Joaquin, and I didn't think I would
I love Joaquin. Yeah, he's awesome. And before Shireen even came up, they were talking just about like the nudity thing and kind of how crazy it was, and they were like bonding. Tyler and Joaquin seemed to be bonding over being not nude. Like that's the thing they bonded over, because it seemed like Shireen and Max are like getting naked. I don't know where Carolyn was, but they were like kind of together in something, and we'll see if that comes into play in anything. But yeah, the white collar, that was funny. And then no collar. So Max gets naked so he can be alone, and then Nina cries because she wasn't included to get naked. Like it was just like the opposite.
Yeah, Haley and Jen could win MVP for doing the skinny dipping this episode. That was cool. I thought we were just going to see Max naked, so this was like a nice relief. I'm still wondering when we're going to see like Dan and Kelly go skinny dipping together. Like I want to know when that's going to happen. But
I don't think ever.
Yeah, I don't either. But the whole no collar thing, it was so okay. I get like that she has a disability. And my problem with Survivor right now is it's the same thing as last season. I think one of the main reasons I didn't like San Juan del Sur was because as soon as Missy got on the island, it was, she's been divorced 3 times, how will she do? And that was her storyline the whole season. With Jacqueline, it was she can't have babies. And that was her storyline the whole season. I don't want this to turn into all we get to know about Nina is that she's deaf, because there's obviously more to her than that she's deaf. Otherwise, she wouldn't be on the show. So I'm kind of hoping that we don't just dwell on that, and it's not just like, oh, feel bad for me, because I'm almost getting like a Lisa Whelchel vibe, where it's like she's just going to keep crying every episode until the end, and I don't want to just get that much from Nina. Like, there has to be more to her, because this cast is really good. There's no way they just threw her on because she's deaf.
See, they honestly might have thrown her on because she's deaf. If she hadn't been deaf, there's a good chance she doesn't make the cast. Cochlear implants, I mean, I'm not sure how many people know about them. They seem to be like a viable option for deaf people, and maybe, it's interesting. She's also a Survivor fan. She also fits like the older lady graphic, which the no color didn't have at all. Like, if you're gonna have 3 girls on a no color tribe, you can't have all 3 of them be like these hot young chicks. Like, you need one older lady. So, I mean, I get like, who are the other older ladies? We have Carolyn and Shireen. They're not as old. Like, they
Kelly's
need,
in her 40s, right?
yeah, but she's like, no one's in their 50s. Nina's the only chick in her 50s, and I think they casted her because of her age, she's a huge fan, and she's got the hearing thing. There's like a lot of things going for Nina. But this whole skinny dipping fiasco, I don't think it had like much to do with hearing. I think it was just age and just how they get along. Like, imagine if it was, like, do you think Scout would have gotten upset? Or like Jane? Like, these older women?
Yeah, because Jane, I feel like, and Nina have a lot of the same problems, where I think, like you said, it's more of an age thing than it is the fact that you weren't included. Jane had such a problem with so many people that whole Nicaragua season, just because, like, oh, they didn't like me at the beginning. And it's like, Jane, they haven't done anything to you. Like, she was, like, creating situations where it was like they were always attacking her. I wasn't a fan of Jane, so, I mean, I'm just going to throw that out there now, so whatever I say next, if you are a fan of Jane, I'm sorry. But, like, Jane was constantly like, Marty hates me, Jill hates me, they never let me feel included, and it's like, well, you're not really doing much to make yourself included. And I get that it's hard for Nina to communicate because she can't hear, but Jen and Haley aren't vicious people. They're sarcastic, but they're not vicious.
But that was the thing, that we kind of got like they showed a little bit of like a vicious, the way it was edited, I don't think there was any kind of, I think the girls, they just wanted to go skinny dipping. Supposedly they had been talking about it like before. Nina probably just didn't hear it. They're like, all right, now's the time. We finished our chores or whatever. And they went. They're not assuming a 3-year-old woman wants to go take her clothes off and go swimming. It's a very young thing to do. So I think this has to do with complete, like, just age, really. And the only thing where being deaf comes into play is that she just didn't hear them talk about it. It's not, but like, are you going to go up to Nina and say, we are going skinny dipping, would you like to join us? You probably don't do that because she probably would say no. But that's why she was pissed she didn't get invited. She's super emotional. I fear for her. I honestly wish she would have gone home this episode.
Yeah, so do I. And the thing is, like, I don't know what the editors had the intentions of doing, but I feel like anytime you have a character with a disability and you have somebody who's not being nice to them, it's almost like trying to show them as a villain. So I don't know if they were trying to show a bitchier side of Jen, but, like, I mean, I'm obviously a huge Jen fan. I was a huge Jen fan pre-show. I didn't get that she was bitchy.
Yeah, no, it was intended. They definitely showed some things definitely intended.
And that,
like, if they wanted to have Haley and Jen look perfect, come off clean, they could have picked confessionals and stuff to show that. They clearly showed that there was a little bit of bullying going on, with Jen saying she always needs to be coddled or, like, deal with it, things like that. More from Jen than Haley. Haley was trying to...
Because with Haley, they showed that confessional when they were walking where it's like, I really want to get to know Nina. With Jen, there was no bright side. But at the same time, what Jen was saying wasn't being mean. It was her being like, this is the game. You should have known this was going to happen when you came out here. Like, I don't feel like they were trying to do anything to her. I feel like Nina was playing the victim. And, like, yeah, I get that she's deaf, but this better not be the storyline every single week at No Collar.
Yeah, I don't think it will be. I just think Jen was certainly portrayed in a negative light for a reason. And I'm not saying she was negative the whole episode, but she was mixed. She had some positive stuff and negative stuff. But this was not as good of an edit as she had in the premiere when she killed it. Like, this was definitely intentional by the editors to show that there is kind of like a meaner side, even if it wasn't warranted, just the way they, cut it together with Jen's phrasing. But we shouldn't dwell on this, and neither should the No Collar Tribe. I mean, Nina should just be lucky that she's still in the game, even though her strategy was just abysmal. But we'll get into that.
We'll talk about that after. But I mean, it bothers me because I liked back in Amazon when Christy came on the show. You found out she was deaf in the first episode, and they would talk about it here and there, but it wasn't like a big thing, and it never really was based around the votes. And it turned out as the season went on, you found out Christy wasn't exactly the nicest person in the world. And I feel like what they're doing here is it's like, oh, poor Nina, how could you be mean to her because she's deaf? And it's like, well, if you guys don't get along and you don't have things in common, the same thing would probably happen if it was Carolyn, Jen, and Haley. And Jen and Haley went skinny dipping. If Carolyn didn't go, Carolyn might be like, I wasn't invited, but she wouldn't be upset about it. It's like, well, the two young girls went skinny dipping. You know what I mean? Like, I just am getting this vibe where it's like trying to make her out to be too sympathetic, and it's like, well, what else has she done other than be deaf to make us want to sympathize with her? I don't know if that's me being mean or whatever, but that's just how I'm feeling about this.
Right. And I think if Nina is completely she can hear perfectly, I still think they leave her out skinny dipping, and she might be just as emotional. It might literally have nothing to do with hearing. But that's she's getting labeled as like this victim because of the hearing, and no one's reaching out and trying. But I mean, that must be tough, man. I mean, not being able to hear when you're out on an island, like that's no easy task, and it would suck to be completely alone and have like the other two girls just go out and do something fun. So I do see where Nina's coming from. To cry on day 4, like Jen said, a little early for that, and then Will threw it in there. Yeah, she's got a target on her back. Anything else you want to get into before we get to the challenge?
No, let's go to the challenge. And
I've actually
this was intense.
One more thing. I saw you were just talking about Amazon, so I thought I'd throw this in there. I saw this on Reddit. Someone said that Jen and Haley is Jenna and Heidi, and then Nina and Christy, and it like fits perfectly. Like with the because with the letters, even Jen and Jenna are so similar. So if we're to believe that, maybe Jen does come out with the win here.
I still feel like Jen is getting. I feel like she's still getting a good edit. I don't know how much. I know that this portrayed her in a negative light, but I don't feel like it was like, you should hate this girl. I just feel like it was more negative, and it was like she is being a little mean to her. But I almost got like a Courtney Yates vibe where it was like a likable, like, just get over it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I kind of got from it, where it was, you can't be crying already, suck it up, get tougher skin. It kind of reminded me of Courtney making fun of Leslie when they were doing the whole go pray thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the whole go pray thing was really, I mean, we weren't supposed to feel with Leslie at all. With Nina, they really showed that. I mean, she was crying for a while. This is something she's dealing with. Probably she's dealt with this a while. She's a hearing spokesperson. Like, this is a huge part of her life. And for Jen, kind of just toss it aside, like, deal with it. Jen's chances of winning definitely went down. At least, I mean, so far, like, she had a great premiere. Like, she definitely took a hit this episode. Some other people went way up, and we'll talk about that. But the challenge was great. I mean, this is a great Survivor challenge. It's good to see a water challenge. I loved how Dan stepped up and then totally killed it.
Dan really realized that he noticed that in other seasons, if you get like put as the outcast at first, and you're already this fat, like, older guy, and you don't prove yourself, you're done. And this was his chance to say, hey, I might be fat, I might be annoying, I might be old, but look at me. I can still compete. And he beat everyone. I mean, Vince outswam him. Vince got stuck. I don't know what happened to Vince at the end of that challenge. But Dan won the leg for his tribe. He won the leg. And that's awesome. Like, I'm happy.
I love how he called it out. He wasn't like, I'm this great fit swimmer. He's like, no, I am fat, but I'm still going to do a good job. And then, imagine him sitting out and, being the one that sits out. He's just further isolating himself from a tribe that already doesn't have, the highest feelings towards him. So great move by Dan. It might be an MVP move because it did help him win the challenge. And just the progression in his episode from people just ripping on him in the beginning. He loses his pants. He's going home pretty much. That's what we get. Then he starts playing basketball, telling Mike, no, I got to play basketball. I'm not going to help you get firewood. And then the challenge where he just kills it. And I don't know what happened with Vince. That was really weird. He just kind of like stood on that ladder and just hung there for like 10 seconds. I don't really know what that was, but that was pretty costly because if they had, they probably still wouldn't have won. But yeah, and Will, again, we see this in the challenge. The person who kind of blows the challenge doesn't really come up on the block that heavily.
Yeah, and I don't think that Will was the only one who blew this challenge. Yeah, they were way behind, but I was looking at it and I'm like, okay, if I was on this season, I would probably be on the no-collar tribe. If we were that far behind, I can shoot. None of them could shoot. Like, I played basketball. I know how to shoot a ball into a hoop of some sorts. Like, I get that it's harder because they're buoys. It's, like, smaller. It's supposed to be like a carnival game. None of them were even close. I think they hit the rim twice, at least from what the editing showed. Blue Collar they only had 2 balls done when they got there. If you could go on a little streak like Joaquin did, they could have beaten Sierra. They really could have. Sierra wasn't shooting lights out.
Right, yeah, and the shots were just terrible. Like the ones we saw from Vince, they were falling so short, and they would continually fall short. It wasn't as if they were like learning how to do this. Again, though, if you get there early, you have more time to get a feel for the distance and things. And Will did struggle heavily on that. It wasn't like he didn't have just a bump in the road. He was dealing with those buoys and those ropes for a good while there. And then Joe tore through it. Like, Joe had to make up a ton of time. I think that's why we didn't see Joe shoot, just because he was so winded. If they had got there in a reasonable time...
He shot at the beginning, didn't he? I think he shot first.
Okay, well, maybe it was because he was just so winded that's why he was... Because I can imagine Joe being a pretty coordinated guy, hitting these shots, via Malcolm in Philippines when he was just hitting everything.
I thought it was funny, though, when Will said that water is the black man's kryptonite. I don't feel like it was the water that did him in. I thought he was fine swimming. I feel like it was just he could not untangle that rope. Like, he just tangled it up. I don't think it had anything to do with the water.
See,
I guess
I
when you're in the water, you're going to be more stressed, but still.
I think if he's on land and has to get a buoy through a rope, like he does it no problem. It's because you're floating in the water. He's a little stressed out. He's a bigger guy. Yeah, and I totally saw that coming. I mean, we said this in the prediction show. Like, it's potentially that's why I had Will a little lower than, like, say, Haley, just because he had a chance to kind of ruin the challenge. But yeah, it wasn't as bad as Shireen last week. But again, Will wasn't really in that much danger after kind of blowing it. Anything else on the challenge? I mean, this was a good challenge. I like the water challenges. It was physical.
It was impressive that White Collar came back and won, because the way it started off, it was like, White Collar, are they really going to lose again? Like, is this going to be... This was the first season, I'm pretty sure, with 3 tribes to start, that the tribe that lost the first immunity didn't lose the second immunity as well.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true. And,
so
and it's not like White Collar had a puzzle at the end that they came back and killed it. This was pure just physical strength, like just swimming, and then coordination was shooting the basketballs. No kind of brainy activity for them to kind of rely on at the end. So yeah, really, they showed that they're a strong tribe. They can stick with Blue Collar, and No Collar. It wasn't like they got killed, so I'm not really worried. It's great to see. We don't have like a really shitty tribe that's like just gonna lose every challenge, go to tribal, get down to 3 players. It seems like we're only 2 episodes in, but the challenges have been close so far, so that's good to see.
And that's good because, I mean, watching the Brains tribe just like dismantle was fun, but then you also rooted for them to win eventually. And the Malcolm Denise tribe, I mean, it would have been nice to see another tribe. Like, you always want to see each tribe go to tribal so you can get the dynamics. So I'm really hoping Blue Collar loses next week because I want to see how that's going to play out. But it was exciting to see No Collar go, because I don't think that they had really thought about it much beforehand. I don't think they thought about it at all, because this was a mess after that challenge. This was a mess.
Yeah, when No Collar lost, I was like, oh, man, I was not happy, because this little thing with Nina had just happened. Because if you have the whole Nina thing, if that happens and then they win the challenge, a lot of that kind of animosity is just gone, because you're just so happy that you're not going to tribal. And then you have 3 more days to bond and include Nina, and everybody's happy-go-lucky, and and that stuff can go away. But because they went to tribal just right after it, I was really kind of like, wow, this tribe is totally split. We've seen Will and Nina get together. We know Vince isn't happy about Joe and the girls, so we had this like 3-3 split. And then so Jen, Joe, and Haley they think they have Will and say, let's split the votes. And I was very wary. Right when they said split the votes, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that leaves you totally vulnerable in the 6-person tribe when you're just throwing 2 and 2. Like it. What do you think on the vote splitting?
I thought that was so dumb, and I think this is a case of Jen and Joe know the game too well for their own good. Because they've seen this play out before. And I think they were like, oh, well, this is the only thing that makes sense. We have to do this, all this stuff. Vince and Nina never had a chance of having that idol. I don't think Nina would know where to look. And I don't feel like Vince had any clue to go look for it. And so you're going to split the vote when you're not even sure if Will is on your side.
That's you think
he is, but he's not a lock.
We never really saw Will interact with Joe, Haley, or Jen kind of the whole season so far, really. So it was weird for them to be like, yeah, we got this 4 kind of locked down. I was really unsure of Will. And then right after Will talks to them, he has a confessional saying they want to vote Nina. I don't want to do that. And I was like, all right, well, Nina's not going home because that's the only way. And I was like, how are Joe, Jen, and Haley going to figure this out? Because Will kept going off talking to Vince and Nina. I feel like they would kind of figure it out. They didn't.
And all that Joe, Jen, and Haley had to do was say, hey, Will, we're all voting for Nina. You can vote with us, or we can be split 3-3. We're not going to vote for you. I don't know. Did they do rocks this early? Because if they do rocks, they could have said, hey, Will. Will wouldn't know either way. So they could say, we're going to do rocks. You're going to have to draw rocks, and you have a chance to go home. Or you can side with us, but we're not budging.
Yeah, I mean, they do rocks this early, I think. I was worried about a 3-3 going into it. And then Will...
I don't think Jen realizes how close she was to going home. I don't think she even realizes.
I know, because Will immediately after, because, okay, we didn't come close to a vote this complex in San Juan del Sur, I don't think the whole season. Like, we have three people in a kind of latched on fourth, splitting votes at 2 people to vote on a tie, and then that 4th person saying, let's get 3 votes against the split. Like, this was way more strategic thinking than we've seen like in a while, and it was great to see. But Will's immediately, because at first I did not think Will was like the savvy player who was like, okay, like wait a second, if they're splitting, all we need is 3 and we'll have the majority. So he goes to Vince and Nina separately, and I think that's what did them in, is that they didn't get together and like kind of like, you know, form a handshake or a bond. They just kind of like talked one-on-one to each other, kind of like a cycle. Like Nina and Will talked, Nina and Vince talked, and then Vince and Will talked. So I think that's kind of what did them in.
And yeah, I kind of agree. And I think what else is Nina doesn't. I don't think Nina has a good social game, because I don't even think she realizes that she's the reason Vince went home. Like she didn't realize at the time. Like even when she turned around to Will after trial and was like, "Did you vote for Vince?" It's like, of course you voted for Vince. You walked up to him and said, Vince is worried that you're going to be a liability in challenges. And that's going to make Will paranoid. He's like this big guy. Of course he's going to be paranoid. The same way you're paranoid, Nina. Like, why would he not be paranoid? I don't understand what her thinking is.
Yeah, it was just so needless to say. And then Will says, oh, is he going to blindside me? And she goes, no, he's not going to blindside you. Just like, yeah, I'm just telling you for absolutely no reason, just to get it in your head. Like, just... I mean... It was unbelievable, and the thing about it is,
tell her.
Yeah, like who do you blame more? Do you blame Vince, who Nina, Will, and Vince knew that it had to be them 3 sticking together for one of them to make it out. Like they had to vote together, and so for Vince to tell Nina, I'm concerned with Will's health, like he is just tired. It's like obviously he's tired. He just swam. He's a fat guy and he has no food or no sleep. Like yeah, he's gonna be tired. So for Vince even to go to Nina, very questionable, and then for Nina obviously to spill the beans to Will about that, like even more questionable. But I don't know who I blame more. Like in a way, Vince just kind of voted himself off. Like if he hadn't said anything about Will, you know, Jen goes home, slam dunk.
I still blame Nina more because I feel like Vince and Nina were talking to each other, and Vince goes, Nina's like, do you want me to check on him to see like how he's feeling? And Vince is like, yeah, because I'm worried about him. Definitely go do that. I don't think that he wanted Nina to go up and be like, Vince is worried about you. You might be a liability in challenges, because that's really what Nina said to Will. Like,
Yeah,
she said that
that's
to his
true.
face.
Yeah, and I think Vince was coming from a spot of like, I want to
I
make
want to
sure
make
he's
sure he's
okay.
good.
Like he's my
Yeah.
friend, he's in my alliance. I want him to be okay. Yeah, like I guess I can see that a little bit, but uh, it's still a little iffy talking about one of your alliance members to the other, like about their challenge performance. Especially when it's like a big guy who's gonna kind of feel really threatened by that. But Vince, man, I'm mad we lost Vince. I'm glad Jen stuck around instead because it was kind of between them two and Nina a little bit, but we were pretty sure Nina wasn't going home. Vince was offering some great confessionals, and I know he's kind of weird and paranoid, but he seemed very, like Joe said, he seemed pretty intuitive, and like I think he kind of just got really. It was just a
I don't
poor sequence. It was just a bad sequence of events where like he said one thing to Nina, and then Nina kind of took it out of context and said it to Will, and then there you go. I mean, that's all that it took for this kind of pretty good plan to get 3 against the split.
Yeah. I feel cheated on Vince. I really do, because I feel like Vince could have been a really good delusional villain. He was a villain, but he didn't realize he was a villain. He was like Coach, but he was a less irritating Coach because he wasn't in your face with it. He just said things that he thought. It's just the way he spoke. Coach was always trying to tell a story. Vince was just saying it the way he was. And to see that whole Vince Joe thing go down would have been great. And I blame Joe, Jen, and Haley even more because they wanted Nina to go home. So just put all your votes on Nina. They didn't want Vince to go. Granted, they don't care that Vince is gone as much. That could totally decimate their tribe, though, because now you have Nina and Will who have to compete in every single challenge, and that they are not the strongest competitors. When you look at what they're matched up against, they could still beat white collar. I don't see how they beat blue collar in physical challenges. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean Vince, you lose a big body, a strong guy. Um, the thing about it, if they go with Will and they strong arm him, saying, look, 3 of us are going Nina. Will really didn't want Nina to go. The only way that they kind of survived this was because they had split the votes on Vince. So if they had all gone Nina, the 3 of them probably all would have gone Jen, and then it could have gone to Rox or someone maybe flipping. But because they split, and because of the way Nina told Will about what Vince said, it kind of set up for this kind of perfect way it went down. It was weird. It was such a weird vote. When's the last time we've seen only one person know who was going home? Because Joe, Jen, Haley thought Nina was going. They thought they were gonna, split the votes, get the tie, vote Nina in the revote, and then Vince and Nina thought Jen was going, and then it was Will who's like, I know what everyone's doing, and I'm gonna not go with either of your plans. You guys want Nina, you guys want Jen, I want Vince, and that was like, when's the last time we've seen that?
I'll tell you, I think that the last time we saw something that was similar to this was Cass when they voted out Sarah in Cagayan, because Cass was the only one who really knew who was going. Everybody else thought they were done. Jeffra thought she was going home. That whole alliance, nobody knew where Cass stood, and she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get rid of."
But Cass sided with his side, like she picked a side.
But the side didn't know that she was on them. She didn't know that, like, that side did not know that Cass was on their side. They were still playing idols to try to protect themselves from Cass.
Okay, I'll have to maybe rewatch that. But this just seemed like, yeah, one side of one alliance has a plan. There's another alliance with a plan, and he like just kind of does his own thing and just says, "The hell with both you guys. I'm going to take out the guy who's been talking behind my back about my challenge performance." So great move by Will. I mean, he's an MVP candidate from the Phantom Tribe for sure, right?
Oh yeah. I would say my thing with Will is great entertaining character right now. So much more entertaining than I thought he was going to be. He's an entertainer. That's what he's there for. I think that if the 3, Jen, Joe, and Haley, had approached him and said, we're voting for Nina, he would have done it. And my reason for this is he voted out Vince because he was scared that Vince was coming for him. So that's why he voted out Vince. Vince was never really coming for him. So if he's scared that he could go home based on a rock draw, I think that he would look out for himself and get rid of Nina. I think Will's going to look out for Will, and that might either help him or that might be his downfall. Right now, I think it helped him. Although I think that they would have benefited, and he would have even benefited, had Nina just gone home, because Vince still would have gone before Will.
Honestly, if you want to look at what really they should have done, and I hate to say it, is they should have gone them 3 against Jen, and it would have been Jen going home. You would still have your 2 strong guys. I thought Jen was. I was so worried that Jen was going home. I just when the sun went down, like before Tribal, I was like, oh man, like, is this one comment from Nina really enough to make Will vote for Vince? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. So great episode overall.
At Tribal, the way they played it up, because this Tribal was awesome, I thought this was a very good Tribal. How Vince thought he was in the middle, didn't really. I mean, I think he kind of thought he could get voted off, but I don't think he did. I think Vince thought he was safe. With the way they did it, where they had Jen saying to Jeff, "Oh, I think I'm still watching you on TV," and all this stuff, how she's just so happy to be there. I was like, Jen's going home. They were setting it up for Jen to go home because they were like, she's a huge fan. She just loves to be here. She got her adventure. Now she's gone because they're trying to split the vote. I thought she was done, and I thought Joe and Haley were going to go right after her.
See, that totally scared me, like the whole Jen's fun little bit. But now that she didn't go home, that really gives her – that was like a positive light that we saw her in after seeing her in this kind of negative bullying role. Maybe, even if it wasn't her fault that she was being a bully and it got kind of blown out of proportion with the hearing, this was like a good way to see Jen like back in fun Jen form as opposed to like kind of this meaner bully. So I was really glad that she didn't go, and then she got that bit of good editing and good fun with Jeff saying, I think I'm watching TV right now. Like it was great to see. And
yeah.
And Will just man, Will is so much more of a savvy player than I really thought he was. I know might have been a little bit paranoid to get Vince out, but when I first saw Will, I was like, this guy doesn't know the game. He's here for entertainment. It's like he's had great confessionals, and he's not been mean to anybody. Everyone seems to like him. I think Will is a way better player than either of us thought. Will is sitting on the Phantom Tribe. Neither of us drafted him. And Caroline's over there, Rodney's over there, Lindsay's over there on that Phantom Tribe. We're talking about our fantasy tribes here. If you don't know what we're talking about.
And your fantasy tribe's been decimated. You might not have a fantasy tribe soon.
I might because I have So and Vince were on my tribe. They're both gone. And then, I have Dan who could go any second now. And Shireen, I still have Joe and Jen though, so I hope they can kind of pull through, make it to the end.
And I think what we're going to start seeing is I think what this episode kind of showed is you don't have to know the game the best. You just have to have common sense. And I feel like Joe, Jen, and Haley tried to be overly strategic, and Will was just like, you know what? I'm looking out for number one, and if I make it through this vote, I'll be sitting there again tomorrow, and I'll have gotten rid of the guy who was gunning for me. At least that's what he thought Vince was doing. I feel like the other guys, it was like, well, this is who we want gone, but let's try to be too strategic. Don't be so strategic this early. Just play the game. Use common sense. There was no way Vince or Nina had an idol. I don't even think either of them were hinting that they had an idol. So just assume they don't have it.
Yeah, we never saw like either of them. It would have been cool if we saw like Vince or Nina look for one at least, and one of them gets suspicious to give us like this reasoning for the vote split. But I don't know. Like you think Vince and Nina were actually looking? We didn't get any of that, so it seemed kind of like it was just an unnecessary splitting of the votes. Who knows? We really don't get to see everything that goes on the beach, so it's really hard to say. Anything else on the episode? I mean, this was a great episode. I mean, when you're heading into the tribal and you just don't know, like, I was thinking it could be Nina, probably not. Jen, like one of my favorite characters, definitely on the block, and then Vince, definitely on the block as well. I think everyone's name got brought up besides Haley. Like, they were talking about blindsiding Joe, and then they realized probably not the best idea because of challenges. Nina's name was certainly up there. Everybody, really, except Haley.
Yeah, I agree, because I think that even Will got brought up. He did get brought up for a second. It wasn't as long, but he did get brought up after the challenge. Like, maybe he isn't healthy enough. Maybe he is going to be sick. Maybe he's not going to be able to do this. I'm curious to see how this plays out for No Collar now, if they're going to be able to rebound from this after losing their second strongest member, I think. against all these strong tribes. Is that going to end up haunting them, and then they're going to have to get rid of Nina next week anyway? Like, is Nina going to be an easy next week boot, or are we going to keep up this whole every tribe's going and Blue Collar goes next? I hope Blue Collar goes next because that would just be so much fun.
Yeah, I do too, and I think between Mike and Dan, it would be up on the air right now. I mean, pending something really interesting happening next week, but even in the previews, Dan or Mike again is being like bossy work. They were throwing wood around, just angry. So I think Dan kind of slid. I think Dan is like back in the tribe's good graces. I think he's not the lowest on the totem pole anymore.
I agree. I think Mike is actually the lowest on that totem pole, but the whole thing is I don't know where Kelly stands at all. And what if Kelly is actually closer with Dan and Mike than we think? What if she's not just with the two girls and Rodney?
Well, yeah, Kelly
what if Rodney and Lindsay are on the road?
Yeah, exactly. Sierra and Kelly, we've like heard nothing
we
from.
We don't know. Yeah.
They had 0 confessionals this episode, and they only had 1 each in the premiere. So 1 total over,
Granted, it's just because they didn't have much of a role to play in this episode because there was so much other drama at the No Collar. We didn't need to see much of them. But I'm kind of getting the same thing where it's like, well, where do Sierra and Kelly sit? Because I feel like there's a clear division. But if that tribe were to go, it's going to come down to those two. And I don't think those two are as solid with Rodney and Lindsay as they tried to make us believe in the first episode.
Yeah, I mean, we just don't know. What it's going to take here is a puzzle that they can't cheat on, and they'll find themselves in tribal pretty quickly. I don't think they have the best puzzle minds. I think No Collar, we had Joe rip through that puzzle. White Collar, I mean, yeah, they messed up, but I think they can do a puzzle pretty well. If there's a puzzle at the end of the next challenge, I can totally see Blue Collar going. It's not like there's one tribe that is that just because Blue Collar hasn't gone yet doesn't mean they're like this super strong tribe.
They have finished second every time. They finished second both times. They haven't won yet. They've just gotten second place. They've just escaped. That's all they've done. When do they finally get third? Are they going to get third first or are they going to get first? And I think they're going to get third before they get first. Yeah, I think that they're going to lose one before they win one.
I'd look forward to that.
One other thing, though.
One other thing. Okay.
One other thing. This is just a complaint that I have for Mr. Jeff Probst here. Can he please stop saying the second person voted off of White Collar versus Blue Collar versus... Just say worlds apart. It's so much easier. It's so much more dramatic if you say worlds apart. It sounds better. It's smoother. And he's saying White Collar versus Blue Collar versus... The name of the season is Worlds Apart. That's what it is called. That's what it's called. That's what it says right there on the buff, on the logo. It says Worlds Apart. Yeah, it says the No Collar, Blue Collar, but it's called Worlds Apart. Say the second person voted off of Survivor Worlds Apart. It's shorter. It's better. God.
I mean, did he do that in the? I mean, it annoys me to no end. Also, like that stood out clearly. Like it jumped out. We all heard it. Did he say that for So?
Yep.
He did. Darn.
He did.
Because I was thinking at one second he said White Collar. I was like, oh man, like, is he gonna say, oh, excuse me, No Collar? He was gonna say like, the first person vote out of the No Collar tribe or the White Collar tribe. So I thought maybe it was like a cover up because it didn't really stand out to me in the first episode. But yeah, he's got to say Worlds Apart. The only problem is because there's so much. Everyone hates that. Obviously, it just takes away. It just takes so long to say, and there's, obviously no one likes that, and people are getting him on for it. But he can't change that now. All the episodes have been recorded, so
yeah,
nothing we can do about it. Like he can say sorry, but we might see this every episode the rest of the season. Yeah,
because the only thing that is annoying me a little bit right now is the whole fact that they're playing up the collar thing still. Because I mean, I guess it's okay, but
so hard. Yeah, we didn't mention that.
It was like the Haley thing when she's like, we're not good at making decisions because we're No Collar, and it's like, well, I would consider myself more of a No Collar than a Blue or a White Collar, and I can make decisions. I'm pretty sure I can make a decision. Like,
I don't know if you noticed, but almost every confessional, and until we got dealing with Nina's thing, was like especially on the White Collar tribe, everyone was saying something about the collars. Like every confessional, there was just a collar thing mentioned, and they definitely picked those to really play up this theme. I can't wait till we get a tribe swap and just get rid of this collar theme.
Yeah,
it really. We have 3 great tribes of people where the collars really aren't meaning all that much. You see on the Blue Collar tribe. The Blue Collar tribe of all tribes is arguing about hard work. Like it just
Yeah.
these colors don't mean anything. The white tribes get naked, so I don't think they really mean
This goes back to my whole Nina thing and the Jacqueline thing and the Missy thing. CBS comes in and they say this is our storyline. We don't need storylines. This cast is so good. Let them create their own storylines. We don't need to know who's no collar, who's blue collar, who's white collar, and have them that be the reasons they do everything for the entire episode or for the entire season. Like these characters are so good. Let them create their own storylines because look what happens when they do. You get a great blindside of Vince like we just did.
Yeah, that was perfect. I totally agree, and I hope a tribe swap really. Once that happens, it will really diminish this whole collar thing.
Yeah.
We see it happen all the time with, Brains, Bronze, Beauty, other theme seasons.
Yeah.
Okay, we will be doing a prediction video Monday. That's when we we talk about the next episode. And we really want people to get involved and share what they think. So you can comment on this video what you think is going to happen, or if you have questions for us, like what do you think is going to happen if white collar goes to tribal, or hypotheticals, or stuff like that. We just want to hear from the subscribers and just talk about the next episode. So yeah, we'll be doing the prediction show on every Monday before the episode Wednesday. We'll just be talking about predictions, and we just really want to hear from you.
And then the other thing is too, on Mondays when we do the prediction show, that's when we'll be revealing the MVP that was voted for. And me and Will had said that if we can agree on who the MVP is, we're not going to leave it open to a vote because sometimes it's an obvious one. Like last week we thought it was obvious it was Joe. This week I don't think we agree that there's an obvious one.
There really isn't. You could say Will because he had such a great kind of move, but we've yet to see if that was beneficial. Like he voted out one of his own alliance members that really wasn't targeting him all that hard. He kind of just got paranoid. So we don't know if that move was actually that good. I do credit him for comforting Nina pre-challenge, so he did that well. I think Dan has a shot at it just because it was kind of a story of Dan. He had a whole character arc this episode from being the annoying guy to the guy who's starting to have fun playing basketball and then kicking ass in the challenge. So Dan's definitely up there. I mean, I don't know who on white collar would even really.
I would say for my fantasy team, I mean, Max, I guess, could be an MVP candidate just because he got naked and he got Shireen to become close with him for that. But I'm going to be honest, for my fantasy team, I think my MVP for the week, and I don't think she's going to win, but I would say Haley, just because I feel like she got such a positive edit while that mess was going on with Nina's hearing. I feel like that could really bode well for her down the line. And I don't think she made any big moves this episode. But the way she was edited, I feel like it was very positive. So I'm going to put her as my MVP candidate. But because I don't really have one on my tribe. I don't know who the MVP was for this episode. Because really, Will's move could be Bonehead. It could be Bonehead.
Exactly.
Jen would have been the big move.
Right. That's the thing. We can't sit and just give Will MVP for kind of going rogue and doing his own thing because we have yet to see how beneficial it was to him. I'm going with Dan. I'm just putting Dan up there. I think for how bad of an episode he had in the premiere, the recovery, I mean, just is amazing. Especially Mike helping him out, just being this total bossy workhorse really helped him out. But I think the episode was good for Dan. So we'll leave that vote up. The winner of MVP, the person who has that player on their tribe, gets 3 points. So it's a pretty big deal.
Especially since you have -6 right now.
I do have -6. Yeah, I could really use those 3 points. I really could. Okay, let's go over the boot list game. We have some separation. I mean, there was one person who had So and Vince in their final two. Like that says
there was
badly.
A couple people who had that.
Couple
There wasn't
people.
just one. There was a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, So and Vince were actually pretty well regarded pre-season, so a lot of high scores in there. But I'm gonna read off now this will be the top 11 people. These are the people that are in single digits with their scores. Okay, so with 9 points, we have Jimmy Can, Sarah Harkins, Rob Kellogg, and Connor Young, and they all have 9 points. Right below that, we have Doral Matrica with 7, And then we have Red Falcon Games with 6. And then a few people at 4. Popsicle Inc., Alex Blackson, Lauren West. Those are people with 4 points. We have one person with 2 points. That's Jokesters. I think Jokesters 1, 2, 3. And then we have one perfect boot list remaining. Adam Klein. So I don't know if he knew something. Kudos to him though. If this was a prediction, if not, it's a little unfair. But
he's got Kelly next, so we'll see. What
we're not going to accuse him of anything yet. But good. That's so. For now, congratulations. Like, that's cool having the first 2 right. He's the only one that had first 2. He had So going first and Vince going second. And we did get about, we got I think 98 of these entries, including ours.
Yeah.
So we definitely had a big pool to choose from. Not too surprising that we have one person with the boot list perfect so far. So yeah, that's the top.
You and me are tied. So everybody there is ahead of you and me because we both have 15. So right now 3 buffs would be given away.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and if one of us wins, like, we get a buff too. The other one, like, you got to buy me a buff if I beat you.
I know, but I'm just hoping that one of us finishes first. We don't have to buy anybody a buff. That'd be perfect.
Well, 3 people are going to get a buff. Like, if we go 1-2, one person will get a buff. We're not going to go 1-2 though. I doubt it.
No, we're not. We're not. There's no way. I don't like the way I have my things positioned at all. But yeah, it's fun though.
It is fun. It is fun. Okay. Well, again, about the prediction video, that's Monday for episode 3. And yeah, leave your predictions or questions in the comments so we can talk about them on Monday.
Or you can tweet at us too.
Yeah, tweet at Phil_and_Will. Yeah, hope you enjoyed the episode, and it's turning out to be a really, really great season. Phil, you have anything else?
No, I'm good. Come back Monday, guys. Come back Monday.